But in regards to like talking about women like children, now you really come into the red pill community where we're telling, and I don't subscribe to this at all, where we're saying that women have to be, you know, subservient and they're literally a box, to quote Myron, who I cannot stand when he says that. And I've made it very clear that I do not agree with that at all. So in those regards, I agree with you 1,000%. Women are powerful. We create freaking life. And we give birth, and that's not a weak task. It did take a lot of obviously qualities that we do need to have in us, like strength and being able to stay on task and push and not let the pain overwhelm you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But you realize that like that sucks, right? Like if you're reducing what?
Yes,
No. I'm saying it sucks if you reduce yourself to some like innate biological capability you have of like pushing children out of yourself. Like in today's age, like people aspire to something more than to just give birth.
Well, unfortunately, the leftist agenda has made it so that women forego being a mother and being a wife and being able to submit to a worthy present man who's dominant and who leads and fiercely protects them to become successful in the community and buy overpriced vibrators and cats. Like, this is like the agenda that's now being pushed on women, and they're missing out on the gift of life, of bearing children and of being nurturing. And you're right, I wouldn't want a man who couldn't connect with my children and who couldn't be, nurturing to them at times. But I don't want a weak man who's all over the place, who changes his mind and emotions, because then why am I going to trust him?
True, but you wouldn't want a weak woman either. You wouldn't want a woman that does that either, a woman or a man. Both of those things would be bad.
But there has to be one leader in every relationship. And this is the other point that now that we're talking.
Yeah, wait, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a leader in a relationship? I don't know what that means.
There's no such thing as a 50-50 relationship dynamic.
There literally is. Even in a business, you can have 50-50 owner. What do you mean? Of course.
149. But people, good business owners, know it's suicide to be 50-50, because then you don't have the upper hand should something go awry.
Give me
partnerships.
Wait, give me an example of, like, when you say be a leader in a relationship, can you give me an example that doesn't involve violence, where you need to be the leader in a relationship?
I'm not referring to violence at all. I simply made that statement because I feel like men and women are very much so misunderstood. And when a woman gets into her masculine, I see why it's frustrating for a man, because the only thing he knows is violence, and so he goes to that.
I'm sorry. When I say besides violence, what I mean is usually when people say I'm a leader in a relationship, when I ask them, what do you mean by leader? The example they give is somebody breaks into the house, I need to kill them. So I'm saying outside. Yeah. So I'm asking when you say. Yeah. So I'm asking when you say be a leader in a relationship, what does that mean to be the leader? Yeah.
All right. So I like to use analogies because it helps people to understand better.
Sure.
So for instance, if you do, no offense, but I don't know. Were you an athlete? You don't look like you watch sports much, but I'll go ahead and.
I did a little bit of cross country, but I know I understand sports. I could kill you in one punch. Go ahead.
I've dated professional athletes my entire life. I've worked with them. I know. So if you talk about sports, if you talk about the team, see, we'll just take football. Okay, there is many coaches in the football dynamic, but there's one head coach and he calls the shots, and then he
Hold on, wait. No analogy. Just tell me in a relationship, what does it mean to be a leader? I don't know why because like we don't do like if you're talking about like one quarterback, like one man dating like 10 or 12 or 15 women or whatever, sure. But we're talking about a one-on-one relationship. What does it mean to be a leader?
About the dynamics of how our teams or operations function. We can take sports, we can take the army, we can take anything in life. Your kids going to school, there's not 10 teachers or 2, there's 1. So
yeah, but these are all situations where it's one person leading many. We're talking about a partnership, a man and a woman. What does it mean to be a leader in a relationship?
With children, in most cases, except for what's been thankfully the left's been pushing not to have kids. But when you talk about the dynamic, it's typically a man and a woman. Pick your role if you're same sex and all that, and then children. So there has to be one person who is making the decisions. In the major life decisions.
Like what major decision? That's what I want to know. Like, what is the major decision you're making as a leader?
I was just getting to that. Who's shouldering the financial responsibility for the most part. Doesn't mean other people can't make money too. Who's, like, for instance, okay, if you two were to get married, Lauren and Destiny, you guys get married. Maybe you are already. I don't know.
Melina is his wife.
Go ahead.
Once again, that's the whole reason that you're talking to him.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you could be the second wife. I heard you guys have open relationship.
No,
I didn't know.
I'm not Muslim. I'm not Muslim. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know. I
You're good. No, it's fine. You're good. She's feisty.
Okay.
I don't know why.
So you guys get married.
Right now. Yeah.
I'm in my mask.
You guys are deciding where. First of all, basic thing. Where do you want to live?
Okay.
Okay. and you're saying, well, I want to live in, perfect example, Miami, and you're saying West Coast is the best. He's like, Miami's where it's at. All the lefties are here. The libs are here. Come down here. Right? So you guys are just for instance, that. Then don't even take into account, like, if you have kids, what religion are you going to raise them? How are you going to provide for the family? Who's going to pay the bills? Who's going to decide how we raise our children or what we believe? Things like that, just basic things that you have to have a person who, yes, there's it's not a master servant.
Sure.
You guys chime in.
So you said you've dated multiple people. I'm sorry, did you say you have children, right?
I have one son. He's
okay.
8, yes.
So I'm gonna lean really hard into this because I hear people with no relationship experience say the answers that you've given, and it's very obvious they have no relationship experience. I don't know how you're giving these answers. So when you're in a relationship, and I'm asking you, what are examples of a leadership position? And you say, who's going to provide, who pays the bills, how we raise our children, where do we live, where do we move? These are not decisions that are made by one party ever. And if it is, that relationship is not going to last. There has never been a successful relationship where you live in an area and the man goes to the wife, he's like, we're moving across the country, pack your shit and let's go. Like, no relationship.
There's dialogue, there's discussion.
Yeah, there's discussion, but the discussion is not like we don't know what to do and I'm just going to make the decision to do it. These are always decisions that are done with both parties talking to each other and coming to a good arrangement where both people are happy with what's going to happen. Like you mentioned, like, what religion do we raise our children with? That's not going to be a leadership decision. That's going to be, we either agree or we're probably splitting, right? If I've got a wife and she happens to be like a staunch Catholic, if I've got a wife who's a staunch Catholic and I'm like a Muslim or whatever, and you know, at the end of the day, I'm like, listen, our kids are either going to be Muslim or I'm going to walk. She's going to say, well, I'm leaving. I'm not going to bend my whole religion to, right? So I don't understand.
Though it doesn't happen like that. I see it in my practice where you have people that come in and they're on very different ends of the spectrum, and you're like, how did these two people even match? Because this person, like you said, it would work in theory like that, but oftentimes people let the emotional and the sexual and all that stuff captivate them and carry them away, and they end up making bad decisions because their values don't match, and so the relationship isn't going to last.
So you give relationship advice, right?
I don't give advice. I coach people.
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's not relationship. It's more based on sex.
Okay, so
and do you see in the laws of sexual polarity?
Okay, go ahead.
So do you recommend to these people that you coach to just always allow one of them to make every decision whenever there's a conflict?
There's one leader, and in this life, it's the masculine, and yes, the woman follows. But with that being said, to much is given, much is required. The responsibility that's on that man's shoulders is heavy, and the job for the woman is to nurture and support him in those decisions, in that huge responsibility of taking care of their faith, taking care of his wife, his children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because if the woman is all of a sudden like making I'm not saying that women don't have a say so, but in the end, a woman wants to submit to a man who is willing to take control and guide them through this life. And this life today is kind of crazy. So I want to trust that the person I'm with can make those decisions. I put my life in his hands, just like he trusts me to rear and nurture our children. That's why stay-at-home dads is hilarious most of the time. I understand it happens.
I think I don't see, like, if this is the advice you're given, like, this is why these men are like, oh, I can't find anybody, because women today aren't children. And unfortunately, I feel like we're training people to be good husbands to women of like the 1200s, right? Like, I don't think the average woman wants to submit to a man and have him make all the decisions, and she's there to just like push some children out of her and then like ship them off to school. Like, I think people want relationships. What?
Which is why marriages are failing, because we're using this agenda that like
it's not an agenda. It's that women have been given the opportunities to explore life a little bit more, and they're opting for more than just being baby makers and home takers.
And they can do that while still being able to be submissive, nurturing, feminine to someone who is taking most of the responsibility in that relationship dynamic.
How are they? What do you mean most of the responsibility? Even that doesn't necessarily make sense.
When I'm talking about when you're talking about the leadership position and being a good leader, what does a good leader mean? It means someone who leads by example, right? They live a life that's unshakable, unmovable, and they're always present. Men aren't present today. You can't even get a man's attention for 5 minutes because he's gaming or doing whatever the case may be. He's so moved by a woman who walks by. Oh my God, maybe the grass is greener over there. Like, Men can't commit to anything anymore, which is why women don't trust them. If men were actually steadfast and said, you know what, I am the leader, but your input is greatly coveted. I'll make the decision that's best for all of us, and actually stood unshakable, I think that we'd have more women who are wanting to get into that role of actually having kids. It doesn't mean they can't have a career. I'm just saying it's very hard. One of my most viral content videos was this woman who was extremely masculine, kind of reminded me of Melina, very successful, making multiple six figures. And she was on the Sauce show. And she said, oh yeah, I'm making multiple six figures. She's traveling the world, giving her little spiel, whatever the case may be. And she said, I want a man who's going to make more money for me, who's going to pay all my bills. I'm not going to do sexual stuff with him at all. I use more explicit words, which I won't say. And I'm going to have kids, and he's going to raise them. And I was like, you're living in a pipe dream, bro. Like, basically asking, like, you're a man, so you're asking for a woman. Essentially.
I understand what you're saying. I think we're so far apart in worldview. It's like, if I was giving advice to a man, and like, if I were to tell a man, you need to go out to the dating market and you need to find a woman that wants to like submit to you as the leader, like, this is just like a recipe for disaster. Like, the dating markets across the entire Western world don't work this way today. You're not going to have any success like finding a good relationship or developing a strong partnership with a woman and having, you know, a good relationship or a good marriage. Like,
why is it that women, okay, first of all, we know marriage is a coin toss. First of all.
We know marriage is what? I'm sorry, it was echoey. What did you say?
Marriage is a coin toss. It's a 50-50 chance. Or it's like 60, it fluctuates.
Is that what you think about your marriage?
No, in my path, we don't actually necessarily agree with marriage, but a partnership, yes.
Oh.
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.